Welcome to number 9 of the ICF Core Competencies, the series on YouTube here. Really excited to bring you another mentor coach today, Diana Ackerley. She is going to be talking about Core Competency number 9, which is designing actions. So Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be a part of this.
Let's go ahead and have you start with just giving kind of a broad definition of this competency and kind of how it fits into the whole scheme of things.
The designing actions number 9 is part of the 4th component of the core competencies, where we're facilitating learning and results. So that's where it fits in. And designing actions involves partnering with your client to create opportunities for learning and growth and change. It has to do with, from their focused goals, designing actions that will help them make forward movements, positive movements towards that change. And that is in life situations or work situations. And it also involves making the learning happen not only outside the session, but within the session too. And I can talk more about that. So it's an ongoing process that starts with the question that you ask at the beginning of a session. What would you like to focus on? It also starts with just the general coaching agreement you make with someone, where you're designing an engagement about what in general they want to accomplish. So each session has an agreement about what you're going to focus on and what actions the client wants to take to explore and self-discover steps that they can take to get them closer and closer to their goals. It comes from the client and is not generally imposed upon by the coach. It is, and those steps that are taken are different with ACC, PCC, and MCC, and we could talk about that later. So having the ability to track what somebody is stating as their focus and being able to be fully present with them and understand how that flows through the session is really important. One of the things that can happen is that the client doesn't know initially what they really want. And in the talking and in the questions, the powerful questions, they come to discover what they really want to know and what they really want to focus on.
That's interesting. I can definitely see kind of the importance, like you said, of tracking that, because making sure that you as the coach, you're kind of the facilitator here. You're the one who's supposed to be keeping track of everything so that as the coaching session goes forward, you remember what specifically to go back to or how to guide that conversation. So thank you for that definition and a little background there. I'm wondering if now you could go into what it looks like when you're watching a coach who is just masterful at designing actions. What are some of the things you see during that coaching session?
They're listening very carefully to the client, and they're noticing, first of all, they're also helping the client keep track of and checking back with them about what their focus is. So they're not just taking that one moment in the beginning of a session where a client says they want to focus on something and then, yes, let's go, we're going towards that. No, it's really helping to discover the nuances of that and to discover for the client what they really at each moment are starting to need. So that's where the tracking comes in. So a nuanced coach will be able to, for example, if as you're talking, the client starts to become pensive a nuanced coach, an experienced coach will stop. They won't keep talking. And they'll say, I notice you're pausing here. Is there an insight you're having about what we've just been talking about? And they'll ask that question. And they'll also ask the question, is that changing the focus you want us to have? So really double clicking deeply, kind of going further and further to understand specifically where the client is at and whether their ideas are changing. Certainly, you can end up with a different focus from the first part of the session. A nuanced coach, an experienced coach, can follow that and change that in real time without getting flustered. Uh, Less experienced coaches can get very flustered by that. If they have this idea in mind that if you're supposed to be focusing, the client said we're focusing on this, then let's do it. So that's the difference.
Let's dig in a little more about to that inexperienced coach or someone who's struggling around this competency. Really, what do you see? What's going on in their coaching session where they're making some mistakes or not being masterful?
Less experienced coach will be more rote. So they're kind of they're more aware of themselves. They don't get, an experienced coach is totally in the background. The client doesn't even experience that coach as being there. An inexperienced coach will be focusing on what question do I need to ask next. They may be tracking the focus, but they're kind of rigid in it. Whatever the person said is what we're going to do. The other thing is the outcomes they look for are very different than an experienced coach. Inexperienced ACC and PCC level, they generally are action-oriented by doing. They want the clients to do something, a behavior or whatever it is. MCC coaches are, it's not a situational kind of action plan. It's really more designed towards the whole person and helping them learn how to think, feel, or do differently. So it's the whole person. It's really deeper into, it's more of a breadth of learning rather than a laser focus on one specific thing.
Thank you for mentioning the difference between the different levels. So I'm going to dig in here a little bit more to get a little more concrete so that I understand it better. Because I guess I'm not a coach. I work with a lot of coaches, and that's why I'm doing this series. But I'm wondering, and this might be something that's just so simple for the coaching world, but some of the people watching this might not yet have entered the world of ICF coaching. So they're just they're new at this. And I think, we're seeming to get into this. This one seems to be a key point of the difference between coaching and consulting in terms of designing actions, because in consulting, you design actions. You say, these are the 5 things that you need to do differently are X, Y, and Z. So what does that look like in a coaching relationship where someone comes in and with something they want to talk about, maybe a problem, but you as the coach are not to design the action, but core competency number 9 is designing the action. So how does that play out in the session?
It plays out through powerful questions. It plays out by asking questions to help the client differentiate what they might want. It doesn't mean, so in consulting, you are prescribing, basically. You are prescribing a plan. Here's what I think you need to do. I'm the expert, and you are coming to me as a client. In coaching, we feel the client is the expert. They are the expert on themselves. And we are guiding them. We are asking powerful questions that lead them to where they need to be. That doesn't mean that you can't give them a tool if they need a tool, but you're suggesting, you're asking, you're not prescribing, you're not telling them what to do. You are, with your expertise, some people have certain expertise in certain things, mindfulness, etc. You are giving them options, and they choose whatever option they want.
So you're an MCC coach. You're also a mentor coach. So there's folks watching this who are going to need a mentor coach sooner or later. So I'd love it if you gave us, you know, kind of how should people get in touch with you if they're interested in doing some mentor coaching with you?
That's wonderful. I love mentor coaching, so I'm happy to oblige you with that information. My website is focusingconversations.com, and my email is drackerley@gmail.com. Couldn't get easier.
Great. Well, I will put both of those links down in the description below, so you can just go ahead and click away. But I want to thank you for being here with us. And I want to recognize also that I probably have some distractions in the background, being that there's a cat and a dog. If you've been watching this series, you might have seen they're being shot out of order. And I was in Hawaii last week, which is great. So there's a couple of nice shots from there. But my animals are very needy today, and I've tried locking them up a couple times. It's not going so well. So, so if you're watching, we're getting close to the end. If you haven't seen the Hawaii shots, make sure you go backwards. And you know the way you're going to go backwards is to go down here to watch the entire series. And if you want to go on to the next competency, number 10, go ahead and click up here. I'll see you in the next video.